Baltimore man accused of stealing pricey purses.
Well, in this economy, man, you never know what to expect, you know.
What investigators believe helped him pull off his designer line crime.
A birthday party that was anything but happy.
I didn't have a right to tell you to leave.
New developments after a confrontation at the Marley Station Mall.
Clouds moving in along with colder temperatures. Our next chance for snow in my Weather Authority forecast.
And candidates face off on Fox 45.
The federal program was bad. Ours has actually been worse.
The issues and answers from Republicans running for governor.
Live in high definition from WBFF in Baltimore. This is Fox 45 News at 10.
Hello, I'm Jeff Barnes.
And I'm Jennifer Gilbert. It took an army of law enforcement officers, but tonight detectives believe they have their man.
He's a Baltimore resident accused of stealing 8 purses, but as Jeff Abell shows us tonight, these were not just any typical purses.
In Edmondson Village, neighbors are just learning about the arrest of their neighbor.
I don't know what to think, really.
40-year-old Edward Bryant is locked up tonight, accused of stealing $200,000 worth of handbags, all of them produced by Hermes, a high-end French manufacturer whose handbags sell for as much as $38,000 apiece. These stolen handbags were taken during a burglary last week at a home in Houston.
This is apparently an interstate network that moves this kind of high-end merchandise, and police believe that the 2 suspects actually traveled from Maryland by plane down to Texas and committed this burglary.
Police recovered 4 of the 8 stolen handbags here in Baltimore, but they're still searching for a second suspect. Police are still trying to understand how the suspect here in Edmondson Village stumbled upon all those pricey handbags at a home some 1,500 miles away.
There is the consideration that social media may have played a part in all of this.
Officers arrested Bryant at his home early yesterday morning. They believe the 4 handbags which have yet to be found may have already been sold.
Well, in this economy, man, you never know what to expect, you know.
Jeff Abell, Fox 45 News.
Edward Bryant remains locked up in Maryland, awaiting extradition to Texas.
New tonight, a vigil for the grocery store worker gunned down in southwest Baltimore last week. Family, friends, and neighbors alike turned out to honor the memory of Jose Abreu, who was shot inside the Latino America delicatessen. Organizers say the vigil was important for the community, and the family of the victim says it meant so much.
We don't need no violence. We need to be brothers and sisters here. That's what we need to be.
Some people have just given up hope, and they've just become so used to living that kind of life of hopelessness and despair that they're really not even thinking about that life can be different, life can be better.
The victim's wife was seriously hurt in the shooting. Her family says she returned home from the hospital yesterday.
A Silver Spring man is sentenced to more than 8 years in prison for traveling across state lines to try to have sex with a minor. Police say 42-year-old John Vanathayan met a prostitute through a chat line back in July of 2012 and told her he wanted to have sex with a young girl. The prostitute agreed to find a child for him, but then called police, who set up a sting and arrested him as soon as he arrived in D.C.
2 Good Samaritans chasing down suspects in an armored truck robbery in Morningside, Maryland. He turns out to be a former U.S. Marine who was driving this pickup and put himself in harm's way to stop the crime. Another witness suddenly realized something was terribly wrong when he saw the driver of the pickup speed away from the curb. The Marine and a passenger pursued the green Jeep down Allentown Road while calling 911.
They follow the suspects onto Branch Avenue, and of course they're calling 911 to report their location and the details of what's going on to the police department. And as they're following the suspects on Branch Avenue, it becomes clear to the suspects at some point that they're being followed. They slow or stop, and it's not clear at this point what happens there, but they fire multiple rounds towards those Good Samaritans. They're driving a red pickup truck.
The Marine was injured by flying glass as the bullets struck the windshield. The suspects jumped out at a nearby car dealership. All 4 suspects were eventually arrested.
An argument at a 6-year-old girl's birthday party is caught on video, and the party chaos is swirling on social media. The confrontation didn't involve kids, but 2 adults. Keith Daniels streaming live in Glen Burnie, where the nasty argument broke out. Keith.
Well, Jennifer, we're live outside the Marley Station Mall. The incident happened inside the mall at a party business called Sugarland. Now, the mother is Jamie Norfolk. She's seen in the video confronting store owner and singer Ribbons. The exchange escalated to a point that mall security and police were called. Norfolk claims her 6-year-old daughter's party was ruined Sunday when, among other things, guests did not receive cupcakes, pizza, or goodie bags as promised. The owner of the store says she asked the group to leave her business after they were rude and used profanity toward her. Video of the argument has gone viral with more than 70,000 views since yesterday.
Ma'am, you need to understand where I'm coming from.
But you
I paid a lot of money. Everything should have been on point.
Boom, boom,
because you came in and went right to them people.
Yeah.
I paid just as much as they
They're
did.
doing your part. I understand. No, you didn't pay just as much as they did. But
She told me she paid $600 and she has 50 people. I paid $460.
That's
I
a
have 6
baby
girls.
shower.
Give me after the break.
Well, mall management has released a statement tonight that reads in part, "We are disappointed and disturbed about the experience of one of our shoppers. We are currently reviewing the situation." Meantime, we're told we've learned the mother has filed a civil suit to try to get her money back. Now, we did reach out to the owner of the store tonight. I talked to her on the phone. She referred all of her comments, or rather she referred us to her attorney for a comment, but she did leave us with the feeling that she feels like she's the victim tonight of an unhappy mother. Well, live now in Glen Burnie, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
All right, Keith, an elderly woman in critical condition at this hour after her home burns down with her inside it. The senior was asleep early this morning when the blaze broke out in the attic section of the home. It happened in North Laurel in the Canterbury Riding Development near All Saints Road. Firefighters saw flames shooting out from the windows and made a discovery inside that home.
Went inside, made an attack on the fire, also rescued one female elderly victim who was transported with serious injuries to Laurel Regional Hospital.
No other nearby homes were affected.
Will Maryland become the next state to legalize marijuana? That's the question now facing state lawmakers in Annapolis. As John Rydell reports, that issue has already become a hot topic at the State House.
In Colorado, it's almost like buying alcohol. Anyone over 21 can purchase up to 1 ounce of pot. And some lawmakers here in Maryland say they'd like to see a similar law enacted here.
The whole point of my bill is to put the street dealers out of business, thereby putting some of these cartels out of business, having the state of Maryland realize the income, the taxes from it.
Revenue that Delegate Kurt Anderson estimates could be in the tens of millions of dollars. While Governor O'Malley opposes legalization of pot, his Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown says he's willing to keep an open mind.
So I think there is debate as to whether, the use of marijuana or possession of small quantities poses a significant threat to our communities.
Has everyone recorded their vote?
Even before formal debate on pot has begun, some lawmakers are already receiving donations from the National Marijuana Policy Project. That includes Republican Senator Alan Kittleman, who says he's not yet decided how he'll vote. As for Senate President Mike Miller,
it's going to happen. I'm not advocating it, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen in my lifetime.
Even some of the more conservative members of the General Assembly say they're willing to keep an open mind about any bill that would legalize pot.
I'm very torn because I want to get the sale of marijuana off the streets to young people.
But this bill would prohibit anyone under age 21 from either buying or using marijuana. Yet for some, that's not good enough.
The message that we're sending to our young people that, it's okay, even though they say it's regulated, I just don't see any benefit.
Legal and social questions expected to dominate this debate. In Annapolis, John Rydell, Fox 45 News.
And the bill would also allow adults to grow up to 3 marijuana plants.
4 GOP candidates running for governor of Maryland faced off in a town hall debate in our studios. Earlier tonight, Karen Parks live in Studio B with some of the hot topics that were discussed. Karen.
Well, Jeff, the candidates included Harford County Executive David Craig, Delegate Ron George, Brian Vytas, and Charles Lawler. Now, the topics included the state's rain tax, education and gun control. 3 of the candidates disagreed with legalizing marijuana. Brian Vytas was the only one who said he was in favor of legalizing pot.
A lot of people won't go for maybe legalizing marijuana, but if we said that we could cut your property tax by legalizing marijuana, perhaps they may go for it.
More on the debate coming up in our cover story in about 20 minutes. Live here in Studio B, Karen Parks, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Karen. President Obama is set to deliver a highly anticipated speech on Friday where he will lay out his planned changes to the NSA's controversial domestic surveillance programs. The president is expected to announce some new restrictions, but the White House is also hinting that the reform will focus more on improving checks and balances on existing programs.
Can and should take steps to make the activities we engage in order to help keep America safe and Americans safe more transparent, in order to give the public more confidence.
Not one of the 46 recommendations in our report would, in our view, compromise or jeopardize that ability in any way.
The administration plans to leave most of the specific changes up to Congress. Well, you may have seen a helicopter flying back and forth over downtown today.
Residents who watched it repeatedly pass over their own homes say national security at the Port of Baltimore may be playing a key role here. Kathleen Cairns with more on this particular project.
Just shy of the Key Bridge, neighbors are not looking at the boats, but the skies.
And here he comes again for the 100th time today. Maybe we ought to start waving to him. Hey!
That's kind of strange being down by the port. There might be something going on there.
Despite the cold, curiosity has drawn neighbors Ronald and Kevin outside.
400 feet, 300 feet, it's not that far. There he goes. There he goes again.
It's going straight out towards us, going down towards Middle River.
The Homeland Security helicopter is equipped to measure aerial radiation from naturally occurring radiological materials. But according to the Nuclear Administration's office, it can also detect radiation from illicit sources.
Why are they checking, and why are they checking so often? Is something going on here? I mean, is something they're not telling us?
The Nuclear Security Administration tells us Baltimore was chosen for the study due to its variety of terrains, an urban area with land and water boundaries. These residents say it probably has a lot more to do with their neighbor, the Port of Baltimore.
They've snuck things in and cargo and stuff like that.
He's going towards the right.
We have learned the Domestic Nuclear Detection Office is also funding part of this project.
Straight in front of me.
Which right now is turning heads in Turner Station.
But it's just strange, it's been flying an awful lot.
Kathleen Cairns, Fox 45 News.
The government survey is expected to continue its flights over the city of Baltimore tomorrow.
That is, as long as the weather is good.
Were there warning signs on the air months before the crazed shooting in Newtown, Connecticut?
Next, we'll tell you if the gunman who slaughtered those children may have dropped some hints on what he was up to on the radio. The amazing catch one Home Depot worker makes that have people calling him a hero.
2 Australians try and fool around with a tiger shark. We'll tell you who won the fight. Here's a hint. It was really close.
And it looks like we are seeing temperatures cooling as we go through the overnight. Scan of the skies on HD radar. Dry conditions now. There's a little precip over the mountains, but it looks like we could get a few snowflakes again in the forecast. I'll show you when next.
First on Fox tonight, we've learned that there are some hefty salaries behind Maryland's troubled health exchange website. Janice Park is streaming live in our newsroom tonight and says annual salaries for roughly 50 employees tops $3 million. Janice.
Hi, Jennifer. Well, we were only able to get these salary numbers through a Maryland Public Information Act request, and as the price of this website continues to go up, it looks like taxpayers are the ones fitting the bill. This is the document given to Fox 45 following a public information request. The numbers are clear. Taxpayers are paying more than $3 million worth of salaries. Jobs directly created to run the troubled Maryland Health Exchange.
No, I think what we need to continue doing is making progress, improving the website. We want to improve the stability, the performance. We've seen improvement as measured in our enrollment numbers, the rate of enrollment.
The website, which has cost $170 million so far, has been plagued by bad software and feuding contractors. Roughly 50 full and part-time employees were hired to run the website. 7 of them make more than $100,000, with the largest salary listed as former director Rebecca Pierce, who was paid $193,000 before she resigned in December after the botched rollout. Almost a year before the website went online, some lawmakers were already complaining about the cost for taxpayers.
I mean, there's got to be people there, navigators and people, administrators, and you're talking about a whole other bureaucracy of operation, and it's over $50 million a year. And the question is, who's going to pay the $50 million? Where is it coming from?
And Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown says despite all the problems with the website and enrollment, they will be staying the course. They won't be switching to a federally run website, at least until the end of enrollment, which is March. We are live tonight in the newsroom. Janice Park, Fox 45 News.
Thanks, Janice. One major hurdle with the hobbling Obamacare rollout since October the 1st, of course, has been the site's vulnerability to hackers. An alarming warning from a computer security expert who claims the Obamacare website is a breach waiting to happen, which would have, of course, catastrophic consequences. Democrats complain this was an effort to just scare people.
As an attacker, if I had access to the healthcare.gov infrastructure, it has direct integration into the IRS, DHS, as well as third-party providers as well for credit checks. If I have access to those government agencies, I now can complete an entire online profile of an individual.
While we are holding this hearing, both the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee and the Energy and Commerce Committee are holding similar events, all with the apparent goal to create a sense of fear, thereby manufacturing an artificial security crisis.
Today, the House passed a measure requiring Health and Human Services to provide accurate numbers of those who fully enrolled on the website. The IRS is at it again. Some groups feel they're being targeted yet again by the Internal Revenue Service. Our national correspondent Christine Frizzell now tells us about some brand new rules they say expands the power of the IRS.
These days, it's becoming more difficult to follow the money that flows in and out of Washington.
Ever since the Supreme Court's Citizens United decision 4 years ago, we've seen a surge of activity by politically active nonprofits.
Activity like television ads. This one, put out by the group Ending Spending, targets New Hampshire Senator Jeanne Shaheen.
If you like your senator, you can keep her. If you don't, you know what to do.
501c4 or social welfare groups like this raise millions of dollars, but never have to say where the money came from. Michael Beckel is with the Center for Public Integrity.
When you've got dark money in politics, there's a question of who's funding these groups and what are they getting for their secret investments.
That question is one reason why the IRS is considering new rules in which social welfare groups would lose their tax-exempt status if they engage in, quote, candidate-related political activity.
It's a serious infringement on free speech.
Digital Liberty Executive Director Katie McAuliffe says she'd be forced to remove research from her website, which connects specific candidates to legislation.
Informing voters about what their elected officials are doing is a social welfare function.
More than 50 organizations have signed a petition opposing the rules, which they say give the IRS a license to kill groups which oppose the Obama agenda, while exempting unions from those rules. But Lisa Rosenberg with the Sunlight Foundation says the rules would simply provide clarity, shedding light on what is and isn't election-related activity.
The messenger is as important as the message, and I think we really, as voters, deserve to know who the messenger is.
Those proposed changes have touched off a firestorm of praise and criticism alike, though it would be a long time before they were adopted, if ever at all. Experts say they wouldn't go into effect before the 2014 elections and possibly not even before 2016. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Sandy Hook Elementary School shooter Adam Lanza may have called a radio show nearly a year before his rampage. The New York Daily News reports that Lanza appears to have called a college radio show in Oregon called Anarchy Radio. Lanza wanted to discuss the chimpanzee killed by police in Connecticut in 2009 after it mauled a woman. He compares that mauling to a teenage mall shooter.
His attack can be seen entirely parallel to the attacks, random acts of violence that you bring up on your show every week. Committed by humans, which the mainstream also has no explanation for. And if it's an actual human, I just don't think it would be such a stretch to say that he very well could have been a teenage mall shooter or something like that.
Well, according to a blogger cited by the Daily News, Lanza posted under the username Smiggles, a name Sandy Hook investigators say he may have used in instant messages. In one 2011 post uncovered by the blogger, Smiggles wrote about calling into John Zerzan's radio show.
All right, now today weather-wise was not a bad day.
No,
Best day of the week so far.
Pretty good, at least lots of sunshine. Chief Meteorologist Vytas Reid is standing by with a first look at our forecast tonight. Vytas.
Yeah, it looks like we are going to continue to see clearing skies for right now. There will be clouds building in from the west as we go through the next several hours. Scanning the skies on HD radar right now, you can see that there's no precip to talk about, but we could get some changes as we get into the day. Tomorrow we do have a system up to the northwest over parts of Michigan. That's a little area of low pressure that's creating a little bit of lift, a little bit of snow and some rain over parts of Indiana, Ohio. This slowly will drape down our direction, and by tomorrow night there's a chance we could get a little snow associated with this and also a little bit of energy coming up out of the south. So it looks like we are going to keep an eye to the sky. But as of now, just looking at clouds building in as we go through the next few hours. Temperatures right now at 29 degrees in Hagerstown, 25 in Baltimore, 31 Salisbury. We'll see our low dropping down to right around 31 for the overnight. And we'll see a little mixture of sun and clouds before we get a chance for that snow. I'll show you when that will arrive coming up in my 7-day forecast.
All right, Vytas, talk to you later. Well, this was no boating accident. It wasn't a propeller. It wasn't a coral reef, and it wasn't Jack the Ripper.
Oh, no. It was two guys with a shark. Where this happened and, more importantly, why. Next. The potentially life-saving catch that one Home Depot worker makes when the News at 10 continues.
Actor Russell Johnson, best known for playing the professor on Gilligan's Island, has passed away. The 89-year-old star died this morning of kidney failure at his home in Washington State. His wife says he died peacefully in his sleep. Aside from his signature role, of course, on Gilligan's Island as Professor Roy Hinckley, Johnson appeared in several television shows in the 50s and the 60s, including The Adventures of Superman, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and The Twilight Zone. He leaves behind his wife and a daughter. Talk about quick on your feet and fast thinking. Check out this amazing save caught on camera at a Home Depot store in Alaska. But this worker wasn't just catching a piece of glass or some expensive tool. That is a baby falling out of a shopping cart. 18-year-old Chris Strickland moved with lightning speed, scooping the baby into his arms before the child struck the floor. Strickland will now be receiving the Home Depot Angel Award for his fast-thinking response to what could have been, of course, a very serious accident.
Swimming with the sharks, usually not a good idea if you can help it. These guys found out the hard way. Australian twin brothers Sean and Dean Harrington were shooting an extreme video to promote their surfing and fishing clothing line. The brothers had already hooked a large tiger shark. Dean decided to jump into the water with the bird cage on his head, trying to be funny like a shark cage. He thought he was a safe distance away from the shark. Not so much. The shark lunges at him. He actually had to use the bird cage at one point to fend the shark off. Well, the guys are both okay, but just maybe learned a lesson.
Boy, that's real funny. The massive data breach at Target, the clues in the code that may reveal where the hackers are.
A hot topic debate between Maryland's GOP candidates for governor. I'm Karen Parks, and that's our cover story coming up.
And it looks like we saw a little mixture of sun and clouds out there today, but it looks like more sun. Now the clouds, actually. It looks like we're going to see those temperatures cool a little bit. High today was 40 degrees. Looks like we'll see much colder air on the way and the chance for snow. I'll show you when next.
Four of the GOP candidates for governor faced off in a town hall debate in our studios this evening.
Karen Parks live in our Studio B with some of the hot topics discussed. Karen.
Jennifer and Jeff, here in a packed room, four of the candidates discussed everything from education to taxes. It was an hour-long debate giving the candidates a chance to shine.
Our audience has gathered in Studio B for tonight's Your Voice, Your Future special.
Tonight in our studios, four of Maryland's Republican candidates for governor debating some of the state's hot topics.
Should we be concerned with the implementation of Common Core in the state of Maryland?
My bills that I'm putting in will help parents to get their rights back with this bill.
I will allow for the school boards to have their autonomy back. You need to have a say.
We're going to call for a moratorium on this this Common Core.
We need to take another look at it.
Education's not about Common Core, it's about common sense.
Then taxes.
No, we will not have a budget based on a tax increase. As the county executive, when the governor was going in one direction, I took Harford County in the other direction, and we actually lowered our tax rate.
Not only are we looking to cut taxes by 41%, specifically with sales tax and the corporate income tax, but eliminate the state income tax.
I spoke of going through and eliminate taxes and, restructuring the tax code.
This economy gets going when you have more discretionary money in your pocket. This governor keeps taking it. We're called the richest state in the nation, yet we have some of the lowest discretionary income. The buying and selling of goods is how new money is created and the economy turns around. I'm going to get that money back in your pocket.
In 2014, Maryland will undergo some of the strictest gun regulations statewide. As a sportsman, what will you do to bring common sense to what seems to be misplaced regulation, which does not solve the root problem?
You should be able to protect yourself, and we are taking that right away from them. We should change that. We need to move it back because Harford County, it's unfortunate, we've had 32 murders while I've been county executive, but only half of those were with guns, and all the ones with guns were done with the illegal guns.
I have to let you know that the crime rate goes down when you allow people to have their guns, and it goes up when you take them away.
I firmly believe that every citizen should absolutely have the right to bear and keep arms, not just because of the sportsman issue. For me, it's bigger than sportsman issue. It goes back to protecting your freedoms, protecting your property.
People see that you have a gun, they're less likely to commit a crime against you, and if, that deters crime. So that's where I stand on that issue.
And finally, decriminalizing marijuana.
We got to look at it for what value it can bring to our economy, and possibly, we can use that money to do other things with that they're not doing with the money that they're promising now.
I find it ironic that there are people out there saying you're not supposed to smoke cigarettes or cigars or pipes, and that's horrible and we should eliminate that, but it's okay to smoke marijuana. No, it is not.
I worry about the effect it's going to have on kids. People can say it's for adults only, but if the adults are doing it, you're going to see the use among kids go up, and it has in those states that are allowing it.
Charles?
No.
See the entire debate online. Just go to foxbaltimore.com and click on Town Hall in the Hot Topics section on the left side of the screen. Live here in the studio, Karen Parks, Fox 45 News.
Thank you very much, Karen. Here's our question for you. It's our question of the day. Do you think a Republican candidate can actually win the race for governor of Maryland? George writes, might be time for a change. Meantime, we hear from Bill, who writes, it depends how bad the Democratic candidate is. Anyone remember Kathleen Kennedy Townsend? And finally, we hear from Wayne with a creepy eye here. That freaks me out. He says, succinctly, won't happen. That is a strange-looking eye. All right. Join the discussion right now. If you have yet to do so, just go to facebook.com/FoxBaltimore.
And how much tax money one candidate is using to run for governor. That's in 10 minutes on Fox 45 News at 10.
The Department of Homeland Security now warning other retailers tonight about the massive data breach at Target stores over the Christmas shopping season. It sent a report to all retailers that may have been attacked. The report describes the malware that was used to get the personal information of 110 million Americans and notes that some of the code is written in Russian. The report also said the attack did take a high degree of skill, but the most notable issue in all this was the size of the attack. Target, meantime, is offering free credit monitoring for 1 year because of the breach at its stores. Instructions on how to sign up can be found on our website, foxbaltimore.com/newslinks. Venture downtown this weekend, and you may have noticed people will start multiplying.
As Amber Miller explains, more than 6,000 mathematicians are in Baltimore attending the annual meetings of the American Mathematical Society and the Mathematical Association of America.
And now we have the Jacobians.
It's like the people don't realize math educators and mathematicians, we're people too. We just happen to like something that most people tend to hate. But we're still people.
We're normal, just like you. Attendees at this year's joint mathematics meeting at the Baltimore Convention Center clearing up what they say is a common misconception. They also broke down this surprising detail.
The more math classes I've taken, the worse I've become at arithmetic.
So if you're counting on one of these guys to quickly calculate your tip, wrong again.
It's like that every time. But
I usually have to use paper when I make my tip.
Everyone at the conference hoped to walk away with something, many looking to nab a job.
I hope, I can find some job, opportunities. That's the first concern, to be honest.
With more than 6,000 mathematicians on hand, the opportunities seemingly endless.
the only problem is there's too many talks. It's difficult to decide which ones to go.
While trying to decide, I put these folks on the spot, asking them to tell me their best math jokes.
Why a mathematician's room should be clean, because it's easy for him to make an affine space. Make a fine space, like.
Let epsilon be less than 0, a small negative number. That's it. But if
That was the joke?
Yeah.
Needless to say, the jokes didn't add up for me. But then again, math was never my strong suit. In Baltimore, Amber Miller, Fox 45 News.
I love those math jokes. They just crack me up.
Yeah. Well, math is a universal language.
Yes, it is.
Actually, in many ways. Whether you play music,
Or predict the weather.
Oh, yes, it involves a lot of numbers.
I just would like to get the math jokes. That just shows you my ignorance in it.
My favorite class was thermodynamics.
Really?
Statistical climatology. Oh my gosh. Fun. Did you? Yeah. Anyway, dealing with those numbers, we have some different numbers coming. Colder numbers. It looks like we're going to see some things changing, and we could get a little more snow back in the picture. So we're going to keep an eye on the sky and see what's adding and subtracting to our forecast. Boom. Anyway, here's what's going on. Looks like we are seeing right now mainly clear skies over the city. Just off to the west of the city, we do have some clouds that are building in, and you can see that we have 25 degrees right now in the city as we're seeing those temperatures drop a little bit. Winds are calm, and it looks like humidity levels at 78%. And it looks like across the area, you can see that we do have no precip to talk about as we're going through the next several hours. It looks like there were some scattered snow showers just off to the west, but that has not affected us. We'll continue to see that just mainly staying west of the mountains as we go through the overnight. Now, this little area of low pressure swinging some snow across Michigan, Indiana, a few scattered snow showers in Ohio, a little bit of rain over Kentucky. We have a chance for a little of this energy mixing with some activity coming up out of the south, an area of low pressure that will ride a frontal boundary that gives us a chance for maybe a little snow popping up late tomorrow night. So we'll watch that very closely as this moves across the area. It also is going to be bringing up a little moisture from the south, and we may get a little burst of snow as we get into tomorrow evening. So it looks like right now temperatures are cold at 22 degrees in Westminster, 25 in Cockeysville, down to 27 in Bel Air, 25 in Baltimore, looking at 30 in Chestertown, 30 in Annapolis. In fact, it's a few degrees colder than my forecasted low of about 31 degrees because the clouds haven't come in yet, and that's going to blanket the temperature. So actually those temperatures will stay about where they are or maybe go up a few degrees as the clouds increase. But you can see off to the west on the future scan, you can see that we're looking at the clouds gathering, and actually we'll see those snow showers possible as we go through the day. Not at 4:30 your rush hour home, still just partly to mostly cloudy skies, but at about 1 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the morning, we could get a little mixed bag of precipitation over the area, maybe a little light coating of snow showers as this will be quickly moving through the overnight. So Saturday morning, some areas may wake up with a little bit of snow on the ground. So the forecast looks like this heading into the weekend. We're going to continue to see temperatures dropping down to right around 25 to 30, and it looks like we'll see clouds gathering. As far as the forecast for tomorrow, about 45, mixture of sun and clouds, more clouds as we get later in the day, and then that chance for a few snowflakes moving in late overnight, Friday night into Saturday morning. I'll have a closer look at your 7-day forecast, plan out your weekend, and a little bit of how cold it's going to be getting next week coming up.
They are supposed to be flushable wipes, but we'll show you the kind of torture they can take without breaking apart as Fox 45 News at 10 continues.
And the one candidate for governor using your money to run for the state's top office when the News at 10 continues.
When the clock strikes midnight, candidates across the state were required to have their campaign finance reports filed.
Out of the group, one stood out. As Fox 45's Joy Lapola explains, it's not because of the amount of money raised, but where it came from.
It's here in Annapolis where many political careers begin and some end. careers that would never have been possible without a successful campaign. And those cost money.
So much money.
Jennifer Bevan-Dankel, who's with Common Cause, knows all about campaign financing.
And public funding is the only way for citizens to be heard in that clamor of big dollar donors.
And in Maryland, anyone running for governor can get their hands on public financing if they're willing to play by a strict set of rules. But no one has taken that option in the past 20 years. Until now.
Every contribution that we get moving forward will be matched dollar for dollar.
Delegate Heather Mazier has resurrected public campaign financing in her run for governor.
What we're doing is getting grassroots contributions.
The state will match that money dollar for dollar.
People are saying, I might only have $5 or $10, but my $5 becomes $10 under the matching fund. My $20 becomes $40. So the grassroots are fired up and incredibly excited.
But not everyone is in favor of it. So that made us ask, do you agree or disagree with the idea?
On the one side, if they weren't paid by anybody, then they would be beholden to no one. On the other side, I don't need to give them any more money than they're already stealing from me.
I agree. I think it's time that we use public funding and try to have less of the corporate and overwhelming money coming from the private sector.
I disagree that they should not have taxes used to support their campaign. I just think that they should do their own fundraising on their own.
I agree that we should have public funding for campaigns, and I go further and say it should be required.
Regardless of which side you fall on, candidates using public financing cannot take money from special interest groups or big corporations. And unlike other candidates for governor, Delegate Mazier is allowed to fundraise during the General Assembly session.
For her, there's absolutely no risk of her being influenced by some hefty campaign contribution.
We are moving toward the weekend now. A lot of people looking ahead to their weekend plans. Chief Meteorologist Vytas Reid sitting by with a look at our forecast. Vytas.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to see actually not too bad of a weekend coming our way. A chance for a couple of days of some snow showers here. We're looking at 45 degrees tomorrow, a little mixture of sun and clouds. We will see a chance for some snow showers Friday night, about 30 to 40% chance, lingering into early Saturday morning. We're talking about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then on Saturday, some more sunshine, 38, a little bit cooler, another chance of some scattered snow showers. And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you see those temperatures in the mid to upper 40s, getting to 39 on Tuesday. Next Wednesday and Thursday, that's when the core of really some colder air starts coming into play. Highs only around in the upper 20s, lows in the teens in spots. So it looks like we have colder air for next week. For the next couple of days, back to kind of the normal temperature range. Back to you.
As Major League Baseball is well into the 21st century now, it's keeping up with the times. We'll tell you how they're going to do it next.
And see how much torture those flushable wipes can actually take. That's when the News at 10 continues.
As Buck Showalter conducts his minicamp down in Sarasota, he learned today that his game has undergone a sudden and dramatic change. Instant replay has been approved for immediate use in Major League Baseball. This is the way it will work. Each manager will have one challenge per game. If a challenge is uphill, he gets it back, but he cannot use more than 2 per game. After the top of the 7th, the crew chief, not the managers, will decide which plays will be reviewed. All reviews and decisions will be made off-site at a centralized location. The owners voted unanimously for it, and the unions for both the players and umpires immediately followed suit. The system debuts opening day. 2 football and the conference championship games this weekend. Peyton Manning and the Broncos take on Tom Brady and the Patriots for the AFC title. And here on Fox 45, the 49ers versus the Seahawks for the NFC. The winners head to Super Bowl 48. Of course, the 49ers were there last year, losing to Anquan Bolden and the Ravens. Well, Bolden's looking to make it 2 rings in a row and win a second with the 49ers. They have a lot of experience heading into the NFC Championship, and that's going to be a very important thing.
You really have to go back to basics and play fundamentally sound football and take care of the small things. You got to protect the ball, definitely, because one possession can cost you the game.
As mentioned, you can see the NFC Championship right here on Fox 45. Coverage starts at 6 on Sunday. It's a rubber match between the Niners and the Seahawks. See who will make the trip to New York for Super Bowl 48, only right here on Fox 45. Maryland's 6th-ranked women host Syracuse. See if the Terps can win their 13th straight game. That's coming up at 11:30 on the Late Edition.
You know, companies like Cottonelle and Charmin heavily advertise their flushable wipes.
Yeah,
Jennifer.
but they could be causing big problems, Jeff, for a lot of sewer systems. Patrice Sanders takes a look to find out just how flushable they really are.
Plumber Kenny Valentine takes a lot of calls that involved clogged toilets, backed up sewer lines, and flooded basements. Flushable wipes are often the culprit.
You can spend $3, $4, $5 getting wipes, but at the end, if you flush those into the toilet, you're going to end up paying hundreds of dollars for plumbing services.
Consumer Reports checked out 4 flushable wipes from Cottonelle, Charmin, Scott, and Equate. They all say they're flushable and make claims like sewer and septic safe and breaks up after flushing. Well, first, Bernie Dietrich used this machine to measure just how strong the wipes are by measuring how much force it takes to tear them apart.
Strong may not be what you want when you're flushing it down your toilet. You want something that will break down easily so that you don't have problems with your plumbing system.
You can see how quickly toilet paper breaks down in Consumer Reports standard tests, but when Bernie ran the same test with the flushable wipes, they didn't break down at all. He gave up after 10 minutes. Even when he ran them for 10 minutes in a mixer, the wipes still didn't break apart.
Our advice, if you use these products, don't flush them down the toilet.
And if you need more of a reason, listen to Kenny.
My recommendation as a plumber, do not use flushable wipes. They can be a big problem for you.
Consumer Reports did find that after soaking overnight, 2 of the products did break down, Cottonelle and Scott. But even after 12 hours, the ones from Charmin and Equate still stayed in one piece. Patrice Sanders, Fox 45 News.
A big surprise at the Wizards game last night. How one woman turned the tables on her man. Next on Fox 45 News at 10.
And coming up in just 5 minutes on the Late Edition, a high caffeine crash. The mess created when a truck lost its cargo of coffee. And Cougar Cubs making a comeback, how they are bouncing back after losing their mother.
After 6 years of waiting, a Silver Spring woman decides to take matters into her own hands.
Angel Brame popped the question to the love of her life, boyfriend Donald Johnson, at the Washington Wizards game Wednesday night, flashing her proposal on the Jumbotron at halftime.
Oh, man.
Angel says she knew it was the perfect place because the Wizards were playing his favorite team, the Miami Heat. And after doing a double take, Donald said yes.
Yeah, I definitely did not know. I was definitely surprised. When I had to look at the name a bunch of times just to make sure it was actually my name.
I thought it was the best place. I mean, I thought I looked like the best future wife in the world to have done this for her man, so I'm so happy that he said yes.
Well, now the couple's promised that the rings they bought 2 years ago can be traded in for wedding rings. They plan to tie the knot in 2016.
It's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?